right, everybody, welcome to a chat on the Jumper Punch channel. Like, subscribe, comment, you know the drill. Leave a comment below. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video around. This is the first of many I think we're going to do on our channel. You'll be able to hear this live on SEN as well a little bit later this weekend on the Premier League preview show. We're not going to delve into the nitty-gritty of sport. We will for a little bit, but we're going to chat about fan TV and how it's all come to fruition and fandom, not just in the UK, but in Australia, and the differences and comparisons between it all. And to do it all with me, a very good friend of mine, a good friend of us down here at SEN, and a good friend of us now at the Jumper Punch, Lee Judges. Hello, my man.
Hey, how we doing? You good?
Oh, fantastic, mate. Much better for seeing you. You've got the standard London cold going around your house at the moment, and we can probably pick it up in your voice, but I think it's just stock standard for you guys out there this time of year, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I think what's caught me out is that it's like warm in the day and really cold at night. And I was in Liverpool, obviously, for the game against Everton, and I think like I've been caught out. And, school wearer.
Yes, no, it happens to the best of us, mate. Happens to the best of us. Geez, I tell you what, the months have flown by since we were sharing a beer and rugging up on the way to the Arsenal back in November, December. But how are you, mate? How are things going? How's it all tracking in your neck of the woods over in London and the UK?
Yeah, everything really, really good at the moment. Life is good. Football's going well on a personal note, playing and everything like that. So. Yeah, all good, and life couldn't be better apart from the Arsenal. Other than that, everything is really, really good.
Well, I know that there are a lot of Arsenal fans that actually watch our Aussie Rules show, The Jumper Punch, and a whole heap of Arsenal fans that, of course, tune in to SEN, and they want to know what's going to happen against Madrid, and they want to know what's going to happen in the summer transfer period. So I guess we'll just touch on that, but that's going to be the idea of the discussion, and how fans sort of treat these big games, and the pressure on not just players and whatnot, but fans to answer back to their mates and family, because we all love a little bit of banter. And ultimately that's what it's all about, the conversations and debate between each team that we follow. But I don't think anyone in Australia, and it'd be a small minority of the population, that have ever gone to a Champions League game against Real Madrid. You must be absolutely buzzing for the first leg of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, not a lot of Arsenal fans have gone to him. Like, I mean, it's only happened once before. Like, so there'd be like a lot of Arsenal fans for the first time experiencing Real Madrid at the Emirates. Well, definitely at the Emirates anyway. Yeah, it's an exciting game, and listen, this is what it's all about. The business end of the Champions League. The Champions League knockout is a completely different animal to the league stages, and the league stages. What was all that about this year? But proves to me
helped us along, helped our boys along.
Yeah, but it just proves that you just got to get into the top. Just qualify. Because. Yeah. Real Madrid didn't qualify via the top 8, and there they've got the first leg away, second leg at home, so they've got the advantage on the draw, which, when you think about it, is scandalous. But other than that, it's still an exciting game when it's a knockout stage, and anything can happen. The chances are we know that Real Madrid would probably go through, but you never know in football, and that's the greatest thing about it. Everybody sort of round this way, if you're Tottenham fans or Chelsea fans or like whatever fans, you're all Real Madrid fans this weekend.
yeah, the old death riding of your arch rivals. I think it's just part and parcel of being a fan, isn't it?
Obviously, that is exactly, and I'm having frankfurters for dinner this week. You know what I mean? It's just there.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, mate.
With loads of onion, you can't beat it,
Hey, mate, if they're anything to go like when it comes to, or if the sausage rolls that we had, and speaking of sausage rolls, now sausage rolls we see in Australia are like the pastry with sausage inside it, and their produce, it's processed crap. But the sausage roll in bread that we have is an actual sausage cut up with sauce, brown sauce, if you will. That's something for the Aussies to get around. Brown sauce, a concept that I had absolutely no idea. Little bit of mustard, some cheese and onion. We had that at your great friend's house, Russ. I tell you what, it was a real eye opener for me.
We actually call them sausage rolls as the ones you got out there, but yeah, sausage roll is the same thing. Is a little bit different as well, like, you know, and it's your first encounter with brown sauce, if I remember rightly.
Yes, it was. I had no idea. I thought it was barbecue sauce.
Right? So.
Well, see, this is what I want to get onto with this discussion we're going to have. So, as much as it's about sport and clubs we love and the sports that we follow, it's more so around the fans and how fan channels have exploded over the last decade. And AFTV, of course, which you're part of, and Lee Judges TV, which, of course, you've built as well through YouTube and through social media. It's turned into something that we probably wouldn't have thought possible a decade ago, Lee. And the fact that it has all come to fruition has led to you and I having this friendship that we've mustered up through radio and through technology and communication. And it's been an incredible run from the way it started to where it is now. And it's just going to continue to grow. And now I say mainstream, but traditional media is really starting to pick it up. You've made appearances on Sky Sports and main channels over there in London and England as well. It's something that we probably would never have thought possible 10 years ago.
Unbelievable when you think about it. You know, when I first came into football, as you say, like the greatest thing I think that it's done is it's, you know, like we can talk right now as we're mates and everything in Australia. Like, you know, every game you go to now is like Australian fans coming up and saying, "Oh, like, you know, pleasure to meet you. I love what you do. I'm from Sydney." When you think about it, from Sydney and Melbourne or wherever, and how far away Australia is, and you've got people coming over, and you know, it's lovely when they turn around and say, "Oh, one of the reasons we wanted to come over here was to cut because you've sort of brought it to us to come here," like, you know, and you just think, wow, you know, a fan channel or a personality can do that more than the BBC or Sky or whatever. Is incredible, and that's what it's done, and you know, like, obviously to get to meet different people and all that, but also to meet the players of ex-players and and things like that, and they know what you do, and you know, respect what you do, respect some of the ex-players or you know, pundits or whatever you want to call them now and all that. Like, you know, you go into a place and that. They recognise you and they go, "Oh, I really like your work." Really, you know, that's an incredible thing that which would never have happened, you know, as you say, 10 years ago. But people now can look at it. Listen, when I was growing up as a kid, media access to get, like, it was a closed shop. You know, you had to either have you know, an A level in or a degree in journalism and things like that to talk about football, which not everybody can get, Paul. You know what I mean? It's hard, you know. It's sometimes education's not for everybody, you know. And but then all of a sudden, this route to come in and open it up to anybody. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a ex-professional footballer. You don't have to be someone that played football. As long as you've got a knowledge and an opinion about it, and that's all that matters. And you can, you know, you need a little bit of luck along the way. You know, I've certainly had that, but yeah. And so when all those things happen, and it can bring different. Well, it just opens up so many avenues for different people, and you know, that's why I always try and help people that are just starting up and things like that, because it's not easy. People think, you know, all right, anybody can do it. Yes, anybody can do it, and I get that, but not everybody's going to make money and make a living out of it, you know, and that's that's what you've got the opportunity to do. But I tell you what you can do, Paul, if you want to work at it and you work hard at it and put a lot of time and dedication, you can make something of it. And I think there's nothing better than a gift when people want to listen to what you say. And people come up to you, you know, and just say, I love what you do. I love your content, or I think you're rubbish, or whatever.
I think those are the best ones, aren't they?
Yeah, sometimes they are. They go, thank you very much. You know what I mean? But, you know, the other thing which is amazing about it all, and you probably have this as well in your line of work. I'm not a Carlton supporter, but I love what you do. You know, I'll get it. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but I really love your content. I'm a Man United fan, really, but I really love what you do. And that, you know, you can get to all different. It's not just, you know, when I first you just think, well, I was just really interested in what Arsenal fans think and what they do. But it changes. You know, the course of it all changes where you do different things, and other people from other teams can relate to what you're saying, like, even though it's not your team. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
it's
you know, the feelings that you get or whatever. They go, well, okay, it's not Arsenal, but when West Ham lose or Chelsea lose and all that, I get those sort of same things. And I think that's something that with fan cams and the fans is, I don't really want to know what Roy Keane thinks about Arsenal. I don't really want to know what Alan Shearer thinks of Arsenal. What I want to know about is what Arsenal people want to know about Arsenal. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I think that's where fans have now become a thing where all of a sudden, like, you know, a fan might be talking, you go, oh, I can relate to that, you know, and that's where I think that why it's so special, really.
Yeah, I think the word relate and relatable is something that I think is endearing to a lot of the and with all due respect to the common person, because not everybody has the suit and tie life, the elite, you know, the elitism behind them, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's just a case in point. That's just the way it is with a lot of pundits and a lot of ex-players who are absolute champions who go on to punditry and go on to those media careers, and it sometimes can be a little bit difficult for them to relate to fans and tell their story through the lens of a fan, which fans make up more of the game than what players and coaches do. That's just basic maths. And I think that's probably why these channels and fan TVs have popped up left, right, and center have become and overtaken traditional media. And now you're seeing an amalgamation between the two. Sky Sports now has the overlap, which is a fantastic product. And I think in Australia, we often lag behind with media progression. There is still a sense of, I don't know if the word arrogance, maybe a sense of ignorance into how important fan channels have now become. And look, you're going to get rogue people who say brash things and things that might not be, you know, through the lens of a 4K HD definition. Fans are rough around the edges, right? And players and coaches are rough around the edges as well. Everybody's got their own different personalities. And it's one thing I want to delve into here. And I see people criticizing fans for certain opinions, and some may be a little bit outspoken than others. There may be some fruitful and colorful language used, but at the essence of it, I do think that there is a love for the club. And sometimes you can love too hard, can't you? And then that can spill over into emotion and passion. But what I think people need to realize is the word fan is short for fanatical. And you're going to get either end of the spectrum. When it's going well, you win 2, 3, 4 games in a row. Most people think, oh, we're going to win the league, or we're going to win cups and we're going to win everything. And then you lose 2 or 3 games in a row. You may drop points 2, 3 games in a row, and you think it's all over. But I think that's the beauty of it.
100%. 100% is that is what that does it, because there's 2 things, you know, you don't know what's going to happen, and you can't influence it either way. You know,
well, we say that, but I mean, to a certain point, I think there's always this inner belief that when you turn on a camera or you turn on a microphone, that what you say may be heard. if that makes sense, because you want the club to be better. And I think without the standard of the fan and without the standards of the fan base, it's hard for a club to push on. And look, I know there were protests when there was that whole Europa or the UEFA Super League that came to fruition a couple of seasons ago, and that was then quashed by owners because of protests by fans. So there is some sort of influence fans can have, and I suppose with that comes a responsibility. But as much as we say that, they're not listening to us, and what do we know, and they're not going to be influenced by our decisions. To a point, I think that's definitely true. But I don't think you can sell yourself short when it comes to standards that are set from a fan point of view.
The magical thing about it all is that they do listen, and I'll give you an example. They do. We done a podcast the other week with my good mate Adrian, who's suffering from cancer. And
which is fantastic, by the way. Was that you, Robbie, and Adrian?
Yeah, we done that.
That was phenomenal. Yeah,
really. He wanted to share his story and everything like that, and we done that with him. He was fantastic on the day. And last week, Arsenal Football Club reached out to him and said, "Look, we've seen the podcast, and we'd like to invite you and your family to an Arsenal game."
Wow.
Now, so when you do something like that, and Arsenal are watching, it means that they are watching everything, or someone is. They employ someone to do something, but engage things on it. Like, I know this is for a fact because obviously, I had a friendship with Edu via all this, and he would say, "Look, I'd listen to what the fans have got to say. I'd watch the fan channels to gauge our Arsenal fans are feeling, not on board whole it, but
of course,
get a knowledge what Arsenal fans were thinking and whatever, and you can go on all sorts of social media things. I think if you go on Twitter, it's too extreme. If you go somewhere else, it's not. Blah blah blah. So it is there, and years ago, Paul, the only thing that you could influence the football club was with attendances. You'd either turn up or not. Now, if you look back at that and you'd be really thoughtful about it, was that doing any good if you didn't turn up and there's only 20,000 fans there? That ain't really helping the team. So now you've got people going, they're still going, but they're now making comments on videos and things like that. They're still going and still putting their money and energy and time into the team, but they've got an opinion. And at the end of the day, my opinion to yours might be different, but that doesn't mean to say I'm right or you're right. It's your opinion, and that's the fantastic thing about football. It isn't. There's no right or wrong. It's about opinions. Mikel's opinion at this moment in time, his team selection on Tuesday matters. But there was 15, 20 years when Arsene Wenger's team mattered. But if Arsene Wenger said, "This is the team that I'm playing," what would play tomorrow, no one's going to be interested in that now because times have changed. It's somebody else's opinion, somebody else's now. And we've all got opinions, and that's what makes football great, is that I put up a poll the other day, just a little bit of fun. I thought, I'll wind it up things up, right? My favourite top midfielders, you know what I mean? And I was debating whether to put Paul Scholes in it or not. He's close to it. Yaya Toure and all that, and I thought, leave them out, you know what I mean? It's just my personal like of players, you know what I mean?
People get wound up. They get wound up.
People go mad about how can you say Scholes is not as good as Vieira, or Vieira's not as good as so-and-so, Roy Keane's rubbish, you know what I mean? Yeah, in your opinion, but that's my opinion, you know what I mean? When I go 1, 2, 3, it doesn't say that it's right. What it does, it brings in debate. It brings in opinions. And at the end of the day, if I say Patrick Vieira is better than Steven Gerrard, Steven Gerrard's better than Scholes, I'm not right, I'm not wrong. It's an opinion. It's a fan's opinion. Your favourite player may never be the best player. And that's what it's all about football. You see something in some player that perhaps nobody else sees. Mikel Arteta sees something in Mourinho that a lot of people don't, but it doesn't mean to say that he's right or he's wrong. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. And that's what I love about football. I love about, you've got, me and you are going to agree on lots of things. Why? Because we support the same team. But I'm not going to agree with anything that my brother says because he supports Spurs. You know what I mean? Like, who's your favourite ever player? David Ginola. And I laugh at him, like, you know what I mean? Like, so, but that's how it is. But there's no right and no wrong. And what I think about, channels and things like that, I know you're having a bad time over there with Carlton at the moment. Like, I'll laugh about it.
You're taking the piss out of it as well.
I never heard of Carlton before, like, until you turned up. But like, I know that they're passionate for you and all that, like, and we have a laugh about it, and when they lost the other day, I just chuckled to myself. But I know you're going for it. But listen, me and you were round here one evening. We was watching the Cowboys versus Washington in the NFL. Yeah. Right? You're a Cowboys fan. I'm a Commandos fan, like, and we was watching it, and that's in America. It's completely over, but because of social media or TV or whatever, we've got into different teams in, and a passion from there. And that's what it is. I've never seen Carlton play. I don't really know the rules and everything. But if someone said to me, "What team do you follow in Australia?" I'm a Carlton fan. Like,
That's going to be clipped up and used.
But there you go.
It's going to be clipped up and used.
But the influence of you has made me become a Carlton fan, like, so that, and they're just like Yorkshire, rubbish. But like, you go, that's how it goes, and you go on to things, and like, I haven't got the passion, Paul, of with Yorkshire Cricket Club like I do Arsenal. But I love it. I go and I watch it and all that. I can, but you want to meet people. I want to meet people that know about Yorkshire so that I can learn a little bit myself. You know what I mean? And so there's always things can grow from whatever way. You know what I mean? If I can help someone with a little bit of Arsenal history, I'll try. You know what I mean? And you're always willing to want to know a little bit about your club, and I think that's what fans can do. And like, older fans can help the younger fans, and it can build and build and build. But it's a marvelous thing that we've got here. That, like, a fan can have as much of an influence on somebody as an ex-player or pundit and things like that. Like, and I think I think it's a good thing. I really do, because fans see it differently.
Of course,
we see it differently to a professional footballer, and whatever. They even, like, it's a great example is if I was, if you said to me, what team would you play for? You got a choice of playing for. You play for Arsenal, right? Yeah, you play for Carlton as a, or whatever. Like, that's the team you play for, right? And that's it, right? But when you're a footballer and you if you ain't getting game time, you're going to leave Arsenal.
Correct.
You're going to leave Arsenal to go to a West Ham or whatever, like, So you're completely wired differently to a fan. You know what I mean? Like, and there is a time when every player has to leave Arsenal, whether it's by choice or not.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan, then you become a fan again, like, or you see, like, brilliant example of this is Paul Merson is a Arsenal legend, but he supports Chelsea.
Correct.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and but because then he's wired different to I am, because even though he's played for Arsenal, he's a Chelsea fan. You know what I mean? Like, so that's how it is. So when you're a fan, you're wired completely different, like, And the greatest thing is, and I can say, and probably people can relate to it and all that, like, if you're getting you're going to go and buy a burger from, one outlet, and there's nothing really in the burgers, but the one down the road's £1 cheaper, just across the road. You'll go there.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll tell you this now, if Arsenal put up prices to £100 a game and said, well, you can go down Tottenham for £1, I'm not changing. You're not changing.
I'm going to dub that the burger analogy.
Yeah, but it's true, isn't it? Like, you're not going to change. You
Yeah.
just can't change.
Yeah.
You cannot change. You know, and that's as a player, you have a big passion for one football club, probably more than another. But only built on the success you do. You know what I mean? I've played for a few clubs and all that, but there's 2 clubs that I have a big passion for more than the others, and that's because you had success there or you had good times there, like, you know. So, and that is what football is, and it's that you're wired completely different, and you've got fans now that you meet that are mad about Man United and are going through the ringer, and you love it, you know what I mean? Like, and you've got fans, but I'll tell you that now, if you didn't have that, and there's rivalries in Australia with all different fans, you know, like all different pubs that go to different places now. I know that happens in America as well. You start having that rivalry, it does make it a little bit better, like, you know what I mean? It
100%.
does, you know, without a shadow of doubt. If you've got a mate that supports Spurs, you know, you're on the phone or a little dig here and there. That's part of it, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and when Arsenal win and Spurs lose, your weekend's just a little bit better than what it should be. And why not?
The experiences build the relationship and the way in which you see the clubs that you've had or that you played for if you were a player, and then the same can be said for fans as well. I think with Carlton, to be specific, I think there's a lot of trauma bonding that goes on at the moment, and friendships and relationships are built on that end because the club hasn't achieved anything for a long, long while. Also, I mean, and you mentioned it just then as well, how there's the bantering and bickering between fans of different clubs and families. And I think the one thing that this is something that really irks me, because one thing that I think we can all attest to is that everybody, you're always learning, right? And I think that is I think it's so true when it comes to dialogue and the way you articulate your thoughts. And the one thing that irks me is when people try to take the holier than thou path and say, oh, you can't say that about a player, or you're not allowed to criticize in that way. And, oh, you swore at a player and you might have gone over the top here. I think when you get in front of the camera and the microphone, or if you're a fan at the ground, the emotions, even players and coaches, the emotions can get the better of you. Everybody's human. So I don't like this whole idea of the holier than thou narrative creeping into the whole fan TV ideology, because I actually think that it's for the worse. And I always prefer to let people say what they have to say, and then let the dialogue and discussion sort out what you think is right and wrong and go from there. But don't stop people from saying what they have to say. You've flown off the handle. I've flown off the handle. I think everybody in life has flown off the handle. We've all said things that we probably shouldn't have. But that's just, I mean, this is the beauty and the beauty and the beast of life, and the beauty of the beast of following football. So that's something that I think everybody's always learning about. And I don't like the holier than thou take that a lot of people do come up with on social media and even in media in general as well. And that's something that I think needs to just calm down a little bit. I don't know your opinion on that, but it's something I'm really passionate about, something I'm really strong about.
Yeah. And listen,
and that's not to absolve you of, it's not to absolve ourselves of criticism. We're not the most important people in the world. There's always a responsibility when you're an orator and you get in front of a camera and microphone to a certain point, because a lot of people are listening. But there's also a point with which people are going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, period.
Yeah, and you know, we've all done it. We've all gone off at the end. Listen, I know you see games differently straight after a game, so you do a day later. Let's just get that straight away.
Yeah. Motions running high.
Motions are running high. there's a different thing about it and whatever. And also, if you probably look at, if you would look at my fan cams over the last few weeks, and because of what's happening in the season, your passion goes for it a little bit like that. You know, the juices is not flowing as they should be. You know what I mean?
A little bit of apathy creeps in, doesn't it? When you think like Premier League's probably done, you're out of the cup competitions, and you're relying on a little bit of a miracle to go through in the Champions League. And the same can be said for Carlton League at the moment. They haven't won a game in their first 4 matches this season, and there's now this sense of Carlton is just such a passionate fan base, and it's either end of the spectrum when it's going really well. And you saw the video I showed you of that final from a couple of seasons ago. There were over 90,000 at the Melbourne Cricket Ground going bonkers. But then conversely, when it goes the other way, because we've been so poor for so long, the passion comes out for maybe a week or two. And then when it continues, there's a sense of apathy that creeps in. And I suppose that's probably what you're referring to.
Yeah, of course it is. And there's also like, you know, listen, if you're on the BBC and you're on one of the pundits on Match of the Day or whatever you know is out there in Australia and all that, and you go, well, how well did you think he played today? He's not going to come up with his crap. You can't do it. As a fan, you can.
Yeah.
You can go,
do you think there's more? Is there more a sense of authenticity and honesty?
I think there is
with these type of platforms. I think that's why it's become popular.
Yeah,
that's what journalism was. Now it's just become it's almost become too crafted. It's almost become too sanitized.
Yeah, and the thing is with fan cams and that they're raw at the time and people criticize them, but that's part of it is what I think straight after a game is completely different to what I would see if I sit back and analyse it. But it's not what people want. They don't want me going back home and analysing it and looking at it 15 times and then coming out, well, yeah, it weren't a penalty. They want your rawness there and then and what you think. And listen, you know, I'll criticise Declan Rice when I don't think he's done something good.
And he's your favourite player.
And he's my favourite player by a long chalk. But when he does something good, I might go a little bit overboard about it. I don't like it. When, you know what? Dan was criticising him yesterday, and I don't like it. I don't like it that he's being criticised. But, you know, I get it. But when I criticise him, it's all right. You know what I mean? But
we don't like outsiders criticising our own.
You know,
when we do it, it's okay.
It's all right. But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? The end of the day, you're a fan. You know, you're going to have ups and downs and all that, like, you know. And listen, I'm a massive Declan Rice fan. When he has a bad game, you've got to call it out. You've got to say when he's not played well, particularly against West Ham. He hasn't played well. There's reasons why. You know what I mean? Like, but ultimately, you know, when he plays well, it's he's the best thing since sliced bread. It's the same as the team. If Arsenal win, you know, I'm happy. You know, if they lose, I'm not happy. There's no grey area. Right. There's no grey area. If Arsenal win, I'm not going to say if Arsenal lose, and I'm not going to come home and they've played. Oh, but didn't they play well? And I'm really happy about that. No, they've lost. So my day is ruined. Like, you know, we're not ruined in the sense
of course.
And I don't care what anybody says. Right? And I don't, whether you think I'm right or whether you're wrong. If Arsenal have won a game and I'm going to a party or I'm going out for a meal or whatever, because of that result, I am slightly happier than if they'd lost or drawn.
I completely agree.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, you're a little bit more of a thing. Yeah. But there's a fine line between winning and losing.
You'll shout that extra pint. You'll pick up that extra tab on the meal.
Of course you will. You know, yeah, you will. You might have a dance where you wouldn't have done it before. I don't know. You know what I mean? You've just got that little bit more of a, and that's what football does to it. You know what I mean? It affects people's lives. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, you can debate and argue about for as long as you like. But, you know, the fact that it does. I know people that, you know, if they've lost, they'll better not go out of him today, or they won't go out. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. The day's done. The day is done. You know what I mean? Like, there's Carlton fans that have not been out for 4 weeks. Right? You know what I mean?
That many in this live chat, when it goes to air, will be nodding. They will be nodding their heads and saying, "Yes, Lee, you get it. You understand it."
And that's how it is. Like, you know, how many times, right? How many times? I'll tell you this now, right? You probably can count on your hand, right? If Arsenal have beaten Spurs, right? Let's say, like, you know, I guarantee you go out and have a celebration drink afterwards in North. If they've lost you, you go straight home.
Absolutely.
There will be people that will still go down the pub, and there'll still be people that will go out that night. But there'll be a lot of people that won't, and I can guarantee you'd have a much better time if you've won that game. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that is football. You win a cup final, you stay out and celebrate, don't you?
Of course you do.
You don't go straight home. You know, so there's all those sort of things that are put there. And now, when you're talking on a match of the day thing, and the fella says, "Oh, well, I'm not sure." Like today, like they've done that ref watch, and you got that Warnock saying like, "Oh, I think it could be a penalty." Oh, I wanted to jump into the telly and grab him by the throat and throw him out of it. Because at the end of the day, you're talking crap, mate. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to hear it from that. Like, you know, you want to hear it like, what do I think about it? Like, then at the end of the day, I can go on a fan cam and I can say, right, whether you think it's right or whether you think it's wrong, probably people will relate to this. What do you think of that referee? Well, he's a cheat, right? I reckon he's been, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's been corrupt or whatever. Like, yeah, I can say that. Right, because you know what, a lot of fans think that, and will not every fan, but a lot of fans can think, well, something's not right. If you're on the BBC and you go, "What do you think of that referee's performance today, Alan Shearer?" Just say Alan Shearer. I think he's corrupt. He took a bung like. He'd be chucked off the BBC, right? But he can't say that. He's got to go in here and like the idiot on there today on Sky. He's got to go, "Oh, it could be this and it could be that." They don't. So I think what's the best thing to do? Turn it off. Because he's not really saying what he really wants to say. But a fan can, on a fan channel, or you make up your own channel or whatever, you can say that he's corrupt. You can say that he's a cheat. You can say that he's useless. He shouldn't be even doing his job. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, that's a different thing. But that's what fans think. And like when Arsenal get these decisions go against them, or Carlton, or cricket, or whatever, we all think that. Not necessarily allowed to ever say it, but now you can. And there's so much scrutiny on everything now, whether it be footballers, referees, even fans. You know what I mean? Like, people will criticise the way you go on about things and shout, "Why are you shouting and screaming and all that?" Listen, mate, I've done it for the whole of my life. You know what I mean? My dad done it before me, like, you know. And that's how I am, like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember they have a show on here. Like it's like called Football Revisit. It goes back to the old games and all that, like big, you know. And Arsenal lost to York City back in the 80s.
Oh, geez, I was going to say we're tracking back to the 70s and 80s here. Yes,
I was a kid at the time. I had all my posters up on me, Arsenal posters up on my wall, and I watched the game. And as it finished, I remember like going up to my room and ripping all my pictures down, going mad. And my mum, and what's it down like? I'll never forget my dad. Just let him get on with it. Let him get on. And then they won their next game, and I'm trying to stick back Charlie. Bit of sellotape and all that, like, you know what I mean? But these are things that you do. I've been doing it since I was a kid, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so I'm not going to change because I'm in front of a camera now or whatever, like, you know, I've got a big passion for it. And you know, would I change it? But no, I wouldn't. I love it. I love it. No. I absolutely love it, like, because you go to Ipswich, you go to Everton on Saturday, coming home from Liverpool. Me and my mate Steve drove me back home. We're crap. We ain't got no chance. Nah, defence is this, they ain't got that. He's saying a completely different team to me. I'm looking at him going, "You're an idiot. Concentrate on the driving." You know, he's looking at me going like, you know, "You think you know it all, you know nothing."
Walk home.
Walk home, yeah. As it happens, I didn't get out. We went to service. So I made sure I got him first just in case he left me. But anyway, you got no chance of beating Real Madrid. What we now Monday afternoon, I'm buzzing for it. I can't wait to get out there. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what's going to happen. I could be the most disappointed bloke at 10 o'clock on Tuesday night, but I could be the most happiest. And I'll tell you what, if we get a result against Real Madrid, we're winning it. We're winning it. We're winning it. But that's how it is. And, you know, you just don't, that is part of being a fan. And I think when it comes to all these channels and whatever it'll be, that's what you want to be brought out. You know what I mean? Like, because you can relate to it, Paul. I can relate to you losing to, even though I don't really follow Carlton and all that, I can relate to you losing 4 games. You know why? Because I support Yorkshire Cricket Club. I've been there, like, you know what I mean? When they don't win things, 4 games on the spin, you're going, oh, they're crap. I ain't going no more. You know, but yeah, you can relate to it, whether it's football, cricket, whatever, you can relate to it.
Of course. There will always be, look, there's always a place for pure journalism where you need to have that investigative side. You need to have the professionals there. There will always be a place for it. And even then, you know, when you're a fan and you do your own shows as well, you want to put some well-earned research into your own opinions, and the research will sway your opinions either way. And what you see to the eye test as well, game by game, will also sway your opinions too. I wanted to get onto something too. Just one of the last things we touch on before we wrap up proceedings. It's such a strange phenomenon with Aussie Rules football and Australian sport. Now, Carlton and Collingwood just played each other. And I don't want to disrespect historical football rivalry, and I speak of the World Game when it comes to Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Manchester United, because those clubs have had storied history and incredible contests that have been watched worldwide. And Australian Rules is, I mean, it's in its own bubble. It's effectively Melbourne and a few other states and a few other cities, and it's not really a worldwide sport. So Carlton and Collingwood is the biggest rivalry, I say, in the league, in the Australian Football League. And we have fans of both teams. No fans are segregated. Opposition fans will sit next to each other. Now, the experiences, of course, that I've had when I've been over in the UK and Europe in general, which is something that I've always known because, you know, my family background is Italian. So we understand football. We understand the Serie A. We understand the Premier League. We understand La Liga. We understand football in Europe. It's so fanatical that it almost is a religion. And for some people, it actually is life and death. Can you fathom that opposition fans of such a massive rivalry can actually sit next to each other in a game? Because I think Australian culture is not conducive to, and I don't want to use the word hooliganism because it's not that in the UK anymore. I'm sure there are still tiny little factions of it, but that same passion and love for the team in the UK, you can't sit next to an opposition fan if you're on an away game. You can't wear your team colours to that away game. Whereas in Australia, it's a completely different story.
Fascinating.
I'd like to get your thoughts and opinions on that.
It's fascinating.
It would be, and look, again, like I said, the rivalry might not be as heightened as it is between Arsenal and Tottenham, but you'd never see Arsenal and Tottenham fans sit together. It just doesn't happen.
No. But I tell you what, like, you know, it is funny if you put them in a police escort or put a row of police in front of them, there's a different side of it. Like, you know, I mean, when you're walking down the road and there's none of that there's none of it going on. It's just when you know that you've got that barrier there that you can be abusive and whatever. So I think it could work. Works in rugby over here, but and cricket and things like that. You know, I think like there's a great rivalry between England and Australia in cricket and all that, but they can sit there and you know, I sit with a couple of Aussie blokes when I go cricket and things like that. It's a different culture.
It is.
To say what you're saying with a rivalry like of Arsenal, it'd be really interesting when Arsenal and Spurs play in Hong Kong in that friendly. What will happen with that?
Yeah.
What will happen with that? Because, you know, of the rivalry. But it would be an unbelievable experience, I suppose, to sit there and you've got like Spurs.
Could you fathom it? Could you
No,
actually fathom it?
I couldn't fathom it because it's like, how can I put it? If and this is a weird thing, and me and my brother have spoke about it. If I go to Arsenal Spurs game, particularly at Tottenham, it's a lot worse at Tottenham than it is Arsenal. But say if you go to Tottenham, and I'm in the Arsenal sort of section, and my brother is across the road, I couldn't go over to my brother and talk to him. Right? You know, now if a couple of Arsenal fans started on my brother, who am I going to go and stick up for?
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? So it's just some weird mentality when you think about fans being wired differently. You know what I mean? You're wired differently because you know that's how it is. So you know, like a few of my mates said, you know, oh, it'd be nice to you could have a pint with them before the game and all that. You just can't do it. It's something that's gone on for years and years. But you imagine if you're watching the Aussie game, you can sit there and have a beer with your mate, even though you support different teams. It would be a nice thing to do, you know what I mean? Like, but you know, it just a culture.
It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen where you are. Just does not happen at all. It's imagine like West Ham and Millwall fans would never.
Oh, it would never.
It wouldn't happen. It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon. You and I had an experience too when we were on our way back from Fulham versus Arsenal, that 1-1 draw at Craven Cottage, and we made our way to the train station. And in the meantime, Tottenham was playing against Chelsea and they lost. And we were sort of hanging back and hanging about because obviously on the way back, you're going through sort of the Tottenham area and the North London area. And we both made the decision that it's probably best just to hang back because they'll be filthy. And if they spot the Arsenal scarf or they spot yourself, then not that anything would happen, but you know, that probably wouldn't happen here in Australia.
Listen, you've got to be wary of that because, you know, like, you know, that game we were saying, you know, they just lost to Chelsea as well. Like, you know, it only takes one to start and things like that, like, you know, so you have to be wary of those situations, you know. I'm certainly wary of it when Spurs are playing because it's you know, like you can go, I can walk through Tottenham now, walk past their ground, no problems, but it's not a match day. It's a different, it's match day. And listen, it's not just Spurs and Arsenal, Mill and that, you know, there's a big passion if you've got Norwich and Ipswich are playing each other or Bristol Rovers versus Bristol City. They're all, you know, when people go, oh, that one's better. This one's got more hatred or more on it, and that it hasn't because if you're a Bristol City fan and you're a Bristol Rovers fan, that's all that matters.
Correct.
Aston Villa versus Birmingham, that's all that matters in that game. For Arsenal Spurs, it's, you know, when it matters. There's rivalry, of course there is, but at the end of the day, when you're in it, that's what it is. Listen, the experience of, you know, for me I'd love to go to an Aussie game. Because to experience something that I'm never going to experience probably back at home. And it's the same for you guys when you come over and watch an Arsenal game. You can't really explain to people. When people say to you, what was it like at the Emirates? You can't really.
No.
Your explanation for the away game at Fulham or the West Ham game when we won there, you can't get the right balance of expectation to what it was actually really like, you know. And I think it's the same when I watched that, you know, like when you showed me that clip, like, yeah, it looks unbelievable, but you've got to be there, you've got to experience.
Yeah, exactly. Then
what's great about it all.
Yeah, I think going into the Emirates and away days as well, there's this mysticism and there's this, it's almost this intangible inner spirituality that comes out of you that, I don't know, it's just when you walk into the Emirates just before a game and rather than go down to your seat, you might just walk down towards where the fences are and everything just opens up and the lights are on and the seats are sort of empty and the players are warming up. And you're right, you almost can't explain it. It's just this sense of everything just coming together to create this amazing package. And then the away days are completely different themselves as well. You know, because, you know, you're going to enemy territory, especially in London when it's a London derby. And when a goal goes in on an away day, I think everybody celebrates that little bit harder, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's tougher.
Yeah.
It's tougher. It's tough. You know, it's a completely different experience going to the Emirates or a home game to an away game. You know, listen, it's a fantastic experience going to the Emirates. You would say that it is. But there's something about that away game, buzzing, going on the train, going into, you know, for yourself, you didn't know where Fulham's ground was when you come off the train station or West Ham where we do. But like, you know what but that buzz of walking up to you know, when you look around, it's all, we'll take the Fulham one for example, because, you know, West Ham's a little bit different, but you've got all the white scarves in and around you, and you get into the your little corner and whatever. It's just something little, it's special. It is special about that, like, you know, and you can't explain it. Other sports in life are not like that, you know what I mean? As you go to cricket, it's not like that. Rugby, it's not like that, you know. That experience that you have is a one-off, you know what I mean? Like, you know, we all experience. You've been fortunate enough to experience that. Not only experience, you've managed to get in the away, and I know a lot of fans do go to those games, but have to go in the home end, and they go, "Oh, I wish I was in the away end," and all that. Like, you know, it's a different experience. It really is, you know, and you can't explain it. No, you can't explain it. But to live it and do it is fun. I always get more of a buzz on away games. There's more nerves because there's more chance you can lose the game, you know, and things like that, you know. And going to Real Madrid next week will be another heightened experience, if you know what I mean.
Like, you know? I think it's the experience of travel with people who are like-minded and follow the same club and same people that you do is it's a special experience, I think. And that Craven Cottage experience where we should have had the winner that was ruled offside, falling over everybody, falling and hugging people you've never met in your life. Look, Aussie Rules is similar as well, where, you know, Carlton have had these amazing games where you're hugging people you don't even know. So I think, and the one thing I'll say before we wrap up is that, and I believe this to be true, that they are more the same than they are different, but the differences matter. That's what I'll say. They are more the same than they are different with regards to the fandom, but the differences matter. Absolutely no doubt about it. And I think that's true. The one thing I always wished, and the one thing that I wish was true of Australian sport, especially Aussie Rules, is that the UK culture for football was the Aussie Rules culture. The good, the bad, and the indifferent. That's one thing that I've always felt that I haven't been fulfilled with when it comes to Aussie Rules, because I love the sport. I love my club. But I think just the culture in Australia with regards to comparing the fandom to here in the UK, the differences matter. And like I said, I'd love for that UK culture and that type of football culture to be the Aussie Rules culture, but it's not quite. I think we're all a little bit too nice to each other.
No, you've got a little bit now, though, in cricket. I know, like in cricket, you come over there now and you have your little sections and all that, like, and they're all dressed up in the yellow and green. And it makes it, you know, that us where all the Aussies are. You know what I mean? Like, now, if I was an Australian coming over to England, then I would want to be in with that lot, you know what I mean? Like, instead of over somewhere else. But so it is getting, it's slightly changed. But, you know, you're a different, you know, you're more of a relaxed sort of country, aren't you? Like, you know what I mean? You go over there, you like to enjoy yourselves over there. Like,
we like to sit back and have a beer rather than fight and argue with each other.
Right, there's nothing wrong with that, like, you know.
No, exactly. Not complaining about that at all.
No,
love it, absolutely love it. But it's one thing that I've always been intrigued with, whether or not we can get that UK football culture and the European football culture to be the Aussie Rules culture. But I don't think it's ever going to happen, because they're different sports and they're built on slightly different foundations. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we just see it out and hope our teams win.
Well, that's it. That's all you can do. It's the hope that kills you.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly right. And it's a hope that keeps you going as
yes.
well.
It's always round that, you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day.
It's a hope.
That's what makes sport fascinating, whether it be cricket, darts, or whatever. You just don't know.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? You know, Bunting won the Premier League darts.
I did see that. I did see that.
Ain't won a game and he goes all the way through and wins it. Now, what's the logical? There's no logic in sport.
No. You can come up with all the data, all the analytics, all the evidence you want in the world, but the beauty of sport is that the underdog can win, and that it's a great class leveler.
It is.
I think that's why it's there for everybody.
And exactly, and at all levels, and that's what makes it great. You know, listen, I look at it and go like, if me and you have a run, right, and you're faster than me, a year later you'd still be better than me. But in the national this year, like, you know, you don't. You know, like the one that wins it last year doesn't win it this year. It's all different things.
We could run together. I could pull a hamstring and you could beat me.
Exactly. You know what I mean? And you just don't know, like, you know, and things, you know, things change, and that's what makes sport fantastic. You know what I mean? One day you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. No one, you know, can predict the score and everything like that. Someone's going to predict the score tomorrow. I'm going to be right. Does that mean to say that they're a genius? No, it means you're a lucky so.
One or the other. One or the other. Hey, we could go on forever, you and I, talking about this and what fans do to the game, and how much it's all grown on the fan channels and whatnot. Lee Judges TV, AFTV, you'll be at the Emirates for the Champions League game, and then Arsenal has a clash against Brentford over the weekend as well in the Premier League. I'm sure you'll be at that as well. And then you're off to sunny Madrid for the second tie. So
Madrid, yeah, I shall pack my sunglasses for this one. Right, you know what I mean?
You got your flip-flops as well, your thongs.
Flip-flops will be packed as well, like, you know, so I look forward to that.
Love it. AFTV, Lee Judges TV. Have we also has Adrian got a link that we can potentially put down in our description here?
I'll send it to you. Like, he's got a GoFundMe page and all that. I'll send it to you. Like, you know,
okay, beautiful. All right. Well, we'll put that down in the description below. So if you've got any spare change, if you've got money that you can put aside for Adrian and the GoFundMe in his fight against cancer, any dollars will do. Any donation you can hand out. Absolutely, mate. We're always here to help, and we're here to put smiles on the faces of people as well. Lee, mate, absolute pleasure doing it with you again.
It's a pleasure.
First time on the
see your smiling face. You know what I mean?
First time on the Jumper Punch channel. This will be relayed across SEN as well. So make sure you tune in for parts that you've missed. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, go subscribe to all of Lee's pages, and make sure you subscribe to our socials as well on the Jumper Punch. We will chat very soon, my man. Absolute pleasure again.
Have a great night tomorrow. Oh, good morning for you, and a great week to everybody out there. And you know, enjoy it. Is it still sunny? It's still summer out there for you guys?
It's just starting to cool down a little bit now. We're starting to get the colder weather rolling in. So we've had our fun. We've had our fun in the sun. Now it's starting to
over to us.
Yeah, exactly right. Starting to get time to rug up here in Australia. Pleasure, mate.
Take care.